What's up, everybody? Welcome to Production Music Live. My name is Guido. I'm actually from Cat and Beats, and today we are going to be mastering a Psytrance track from Production Music Live. And it's actually a really good track. It's a nice production. Everything's, clear. So yeah, definitely pick this up if you're interested in Psytrance, and you can follow along as well. Now, first and foremost, we are going to be mastering. What is mastering? Well, mastering is basically just getting it ready for release. So you used to have vinyl masters, tape masters, CD masters, and you get a master copy, and that's it. But now we are going to do what most people think is called mastering, but actually it's called pre-mastering to get to the final digital copy, because this is going to be a digital release. And we're going to talk about LUFS, that kind of stuff as well, if you're interested in that. But before we get to that, we need to have a listen. I'm only going to be mastering this little part and not the whole track, because otherwise I would have to do automation and I could make a 2-hour video. And I kind of wanted to keep it a little bit shorter, preferably 45 minutes or so. Anyway, the first thing that I want to do before I open up Ozone 8, because that's going to be the mastering software today, is to open up the catch checker. And what's in the catch checker? Well, it's quite simple. We have an EQ3, so that we can turn on the low, mid, and high. So we can just have a listen to those parts. We have a utility, but from Ableton 9, because the utility in Ableton 10 doesn't do what it says on the tin. For this one, we have a mid side. So we have a mid being mono, side being the sides check as well. And then we have an EQ8 next to that on the side, so we can see if we have any issues. Now, per band, I'm going to walk you through it, and I'm going to tell you what it is that you can do. Make sure to download the catch checker in the description below. It's quite nice to have, but watch out. For some weird reason, this adds volume, although I'm not adding any volume anywhere. So let's just turn that on, and let's set that up so that you have it set up as well. You can either MIDI map these buttons, so that if you have a MIDI controller, you can map it. I tend to just use my keyboard because it's always in front of me. My hand is in a tactical position over here doing all the functions. So let's just set that up the way I would set it up, and you can set it up the way you want to set it up. But for now, let's set it up. We have the key knob here. You can press that, like up there. That's key. You can also press Command K to toggle that. And I like using the first 3 knobs here. So this is going to be Q, W, and E. So now if I press Q, or I can turn on the bass, and we can just listen to the bass. Mid, just listen to the mids. High, just listen to the highs. All right. I'm going to set this to around 100. I'm going to set this to around 5,000. This can always vary, so just see how you feel about it. And let's put it on not a 48 dB per octave cut, but a 24 dB per octave cut. Then we have these two that need to be mapped as well, just turning this on and off. I always use number 4, and this one on number 5. And that's it. So what I can do now is listen to the mid of the of the middle channel, basically the mids. So the mid of the mids. I can listen to the, the sides. So let's do that right now, and then I'll tell you why I'm doing that as well, so that you understand what is going on. So let's just have a listen to the track. Okay, so you get the feeling of it, and then the track a little bit later goes to this. Some of you who know me and I've already worked with will laugh a little bit to themselves right now. But, so EQ3, let's have a listen to the low end, and I'm going to specifically listen to the side channel, and it's going to be displayed over here if we're going to have any phasing issues. Basically, with Psytrance or with most genres, you want your sub bass to hit you right in the chest. You know, you really need to feel this. So we need to make sure that we don't have any phasey bottom end, because if you have a phasey bottom end, you're going to not have it hitting you as hard as it can possibly hit. So let's just have a listen to the lows with the sides. Okay, so you maybe can't hear this, but the sub bass is actually going. So I'm now making a thing in my head that when I open up Ozone 8, I'm going to have to do some mid-side EQing. So I can take the side away and just kind of cut it. But you have to be careful with this, because sometimes you take away completely from the track when you just cut it completely. But this is a problem. Normally I would go in the mix and fix it, but I'm not doing that right now. Let's have a listen to the mid channel. And in the mid channel, we're going to only listen to the middle. And the reason why we're listening only to the middle is because lots of people have smart speakers now, and 99.9% of all people that will listen to your music will most likely listen to it on a really not that nice playback system. All right? So most of the frequency responses of those little speakers, I have actually a mix cube, but I haven't installed it yet. It'll be around 90 hertz to around, well, 12,000, 10,000. Smart speaker, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. But basically, this is where the meat and potatoes of your track are, and we need to make sure that it sounds good in monos. Let's have a listen to that. Let's add the stereo. Oh. That always happens all the time. So obviously you can tell there is the mix is extremely wide. Again, I would fix this in the mix a little bit, normally speaking. Anyway, let's just continue going. Let's listen to the highs, and sometimes you can get really piercy highs. So if this will be played in a club, for instance, I want the highs to not be like because people will leave the room because it's too piercing in your ears. So I will do some multi-band compression if it is a problem, and if it's not, then it's okay. I think that's okay. You know what? That's nice. The high end is nice. So that's fine. Let's just have a total everything together and a mono and a side channel comparison, and then I know in my head what I need to do. We're going to have to do a lot mid-side stuff. Anyway, turn that off because it actually increases the volume. And the next thing that you're going to have to do to get yourself ready to master is either, if you're going to do this yourself to begin with, either find yourself in a proper nice room with a full range system, or work, if you don't have that, you can also work on some open back headphones. These Sennheiser HD650s are quite nice to work with. However, I do suggest that if you're going to do mastering yourself, to take your time with it and not just slap on a limiter and that's it. Okay, so take your time and it's okay. But the most important part is I'm drinking some Monster Energy, so I'm going to start talking faster. But the most important part is that you have the volume of playback set to about the same volume as speaking, okay? And the reason why is our ears are going to have the flattest EQ response. If you put it really, really loud, then you're going to have lots more bass coming in and lots more treble, and it'll sound amazing to you when it's loud. But when you play a little bit softer, you're like, where did the bass go? Where did this go? Where did that go? But if instead, if you play it just at speaking level, maybe a little bit less, everybody has a different preference, then generally speaking, you're going to be okay. Anyway, let's continue and go and open up Ozone 8. Ozone 8 has a very nifty feature which you should turn on right away, and it's called gain match. The reason why we have gain match is so that every decision that we're going to take, we can A/B it and the level will be matched. So we won't go like, oh, I just added some bass and it's 3 dBs extra of level, and you'd be like, turn it on and off, A/B, 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 and then you're like, oh, mine sounds so much better. But this time with the gain match, you're going to be like, huh, that's actually not that good. So that's nice to have. So gain match is nice. This is that mono button, and remember, we have that in the cat checker, but I'm turning that off for now. First things first, first thing that I always suggest you do is just have a listen, and then I tend to not talk and just kind of go through the motions, but doing this while talking is going to be a little bit more hard. But first things first, let's just get a equalizer and have a listen. I'm going to do this live with you guys, so give me a second. Okay, so let's immediately go to mid-side mode. So we can basically turn off the sides. Solo that, so I'm soloing it here. Solo, it's a really tiny little button here. And a couple things that we're going to do. The first thing that I think... Oh, and I need to go to my full range system instead of that. There we go. And just have a listen. So what I would like to do now is start from the bottom. And I'm going to click on... you have an analog version here and a digital version of your EQ. And this will also fix the phase if we're gonna have any phasing issues. Not actually phasing issues. You can adjust your phase of your EQ. So it's going to be a little bit difficult for some people to understand. But basically, sometimes your EQ... will make it sound like basically you have a kick and it sounds and if you adjust your phase, you can get your kick back, specifically when you do something like this. So you cut it and you have a 48 dB per octave slope, you're gonna have issues in the bottom end. Regardless, let's just cut a little bit of the low end. Turn on the surgical mode as well. Is this literally all we can do? Man, okay, let's go to analog instead. Well, we're not gonna have the phase, whatever. Let's cut the low end a little bit. And we're gonna do this in mono for a bit. And I'm cutting it until I have an issue with my low end, and then I kind of know where the low end is gonna go away. Don't look at the screen, just listen. Great. Now I'm going to just open that up. And we're going to do a little trick here. We're going to make the bass increase via not actually making the bass increase whatsoever. We're going to make a little bump. When you press Alt, you can actually check where you can make the bump. Let's just press Alt and listen to the bass. Let's have that in there. A little bit of fatness there. With the Ozone 8, you can literally get away with adding lots and lots of dBs because for some weird reason, in analog mode, it doesn't actually react that hefty. So I suggest you just slap it on and don't worry about it too much. Okay, great. So bass end is sounding thick. The top end is now completely messed up. But let's slowly move up the ladder. I'm going to use my little Alt button. So if you use Alt and hold down your mouse, you can actually let go of Alt. But then you can sweep through the track. And what I'm looking for is annoying frequencies. Now this track is already mixed quite nice, but normally around, from around here to around here, there's going to be something that will stand out and it will be a little bit crappy. So generally speaking, if you cut that, you should be fine. Let's just cut, see what happens. Open up another band. Just sweep through it a little bit. I know this is too much, but let's just sweep. Is there not a sweep button? Yeah, here we go. Let's just sweep and see. I'm trying to get the low end to be fatter, basically. Oh yeah, don't look at the screen, just listen. That sounds real nice to me. So now let's just take that dB and put it back up. Let's see how horrible we're doing. I think we're doing okay because the bottom end is definitely becoming like... It's becoming fatter because of our little bump and our little cut that we've done. But where it's really lacking this track is the top end. So I'm going to kind of just skip straight to it. If, by the way, the vocals would have been a little bit crappy, I would have added some dB somewhere in here, because then you would have the snare snap as well. So in that area, you could do your snare, you could do your vocals, your airy vocals. But right now, I just want to get this top end up. Okay, that's not making a difference. Let's go straight to the vocals instead, see what we can do. Okay, and let's get the top end up as well. I really want top here, and for some weird reason, I'm not getting it. Okay, now that we have this mid settled a little bit, let's add the side, and we're immediately gonna address that big problem area that we found, and that's the low end. We're gonna, again, not look at the screen, and just take away low end until it sounds nice. Side, come on, buddy. All right. See, it's gone now. Okay, so somewhere there, listening to side information is freaky as it. Some people get nauseous from it. So you have to get used to it, doing side stuff, but that's why I use the cat checker, and then you'll learn how to listen to the side of a channel. It's a bit of a trick you have to learn in your own head. I can't teach that. Okay, now let's have a listen. I already think that the side information, it's already a little bit too much, so I don't really want to boost anything. I don't really want to boost anything here too much. I might actually make an opposite channel here so that we cut on these parts and do that over here, but I'm not sure yet. Let's just first have a listen to how this sounds before and after, just with the EQ. So we're just gonna turn that bypass on. So we've definitely cleared up the track a little bit. But I think we can clear up a little bit more. With that crap. That stuff. Oh yeah, this might get you queasy because I'm just doing the side. Let's add some air at the top because it's just sexy. It's an easy trick, adding a little bit of air. There you go. Just right there. Okay, let's go back to normal mode. Nice. Okay. Now, let's focus again on the low end and go to the next part. So this is just the first part, EQing. Mid-side, a little bit difficult maybe, but you can do it with practice. Let's go to the next one. And the next one, I need to listen again a little bit, but I want to do some compression. But to be honest, the track does sound really, really good already. So normally I would have put some compression before this EQ on the tubas, but let's just pretend we don't have that option. Vintage compression. So let's not let it compress too much on the low end. So what this is basically a compressor, and we can adjust what the compressor is going to be listening to. And let's put it on smooth. Yeah, smooth sounds good. Then we have a ratio. Let's make that ratio is good. Let's make the attack slow. Wow, that's really slow. Let's make it slowish. I think about 30 would be good. And release, let's make that faster. Just to start off with. And then turn the auto gain off so that we can listen to what it will sound like. We could do some mid-side compression, but I don't want to scare you off. So let's not do that yet. So this is the most we can get out of this thing. That's really, really nothing. Okay, we're going to do multi-band compression. We're going to go into the deep end. Whatever. Multi-band dynamics. Buff. There you go. First button we're going to press is learn. Okay, great. Start again with the low end. Let's get it to. I want you to feel this in your chest. Let's see if we can do mid-side mode. Side, 1 second. Still there. Can you believe that? Let's go stereo mode instead. Just keep it a little bit easier. Leave the ratio where it is. We're going to set the attack to 100 and set the release to 100. Do that to all of the tracks here. Because it's a lot of people set the attack and release times extremely fast. And if you just kind of keep everything 100, everything will come out 100. Could I get a... Thank you. So, with that, that's what I wanted. Are you going to do that now? Sorry. So, let's just do that. Everything's on 100. Keep it there. Let's compress. First thing that I'm going to do is I want the kick drum to be going... I really want that to be fat. And we can do that via using the compressor. Compressor basically is a volume knob. It's just a person going... And I want it's to compress the du-du-du, and the kick I want to come out. So let's just put this threshold down. Let's make the release faster. And I'm watching this little button right there. And if you don't know exactly what you're doing, you can look as well. Basically, the first transient of the kick drum is coming through. And the after it as well. But we're getting it a lot tighter. So the kick drum is more like... instead of... Okay, so it's like... It's fat. I like that. I like fat things. So we're doing... What? Well, we're doing quite a lot of compression there. We can do the same thing here, but let's have a listen to this mid-band. Yeah, we really need that tick, tick, tick to come out here as well, because it just sounds like a... the whole, you know, so we're gonna do exactly the same thing. Just smack it down with the release. Good. Put it back up. I'm gonna just do this part for a second, because... See, so with the compression on, it's more snappy. With the compression off, it's just a whole wall of sound. I know I'm doing probably a little bit too much, so we're gonna use the parallel knobs as well, just to add some more difficulty. Let's see what we have here. Okay, it's a little bit too sharp. So here we're going to do the opposite. We're going to put the attack really fast on 0. And we're going to leave the release there for a second. And we're going to get rid of the... that kind of stuff. I can live with that. As long as it doesn't hurt my ears too much, I'm cool. Ah. Okay. Now we've completely messed up the balance because we've done every single band by itself. So right now we're going to listen to it again and think, what do we need? A little bit more high, a little bit more low, a little bit more that, a little bit more so. We can then adjust the gain level, or we can adjust the parallel level. If we've cut away too much, then we can adjust the parallel here. If we've find it too choppy, then again the parallel. Or if we think, you know, it sounds really smooth and nice, then we add the gain. Nice. Okay, it's tight. It's becoming more like, you know, I fucking love it. Sorry. But this Monster stuff is like proper. This video is not sponsored by Monster, by the way. Nice. Okay, remember we're doing gain matching as well, so everything is always on the same level. So let's just turn this stuff on and off and see how we feel about it. I'm feeling it, obviously, because Monster Energy. It's a little bit too thick. That's not exciting. Too thick. Just smacking you in your face with the dynamics, which is quite nice. Probably too much, but hey, I'm having a good time. Now, next up, what shall we do? I kind of already like the sound, to be honest. But a very powerful tool, which we haven't used yet, is the exciter. And what the exciter does is add saturation to your track. And there is a, down here you can change it to triode, dual triode, or analog, or retro, or tape, or whatever. Now, in this genre of music, dual, triode, and triode are going to be nice because they will add like a that to it, which is kind of sexy. So first and foremost, let's just put everything to dual triode mode. If you click on bands, then you can turn that on. Click on oversampling as well. And then we're going to learn the bands. Great. And once they are learned, by the way, normally you put the exciter before the dynamics because then you can get all those little crispy things in the dynamics, but feeling like switching things up. So my way of using exciter is to use it as little as possible. And we're going to do a little trick. It's quite easy. What you do is you put your, click on bands again. You put your amount up until you hear distortion in your low end or in the band you solo. And then once you hear the distortion, leave it. Move to the next one. So let's do that. Okay, great. So with distortion there, move on to the next. Okay, next. Again, don't look at the screen. I'm always looking at a little wood cabin outside. But anyway, let's check this out. This is already distorted. Great. Let's move to this one. Ah, my ears. I have to adjust. Now, the trick here now is to take all your mixes down here. So the mix knobs, put all of them down. And then we're going to rebalance the track yet again. From the bottom end. I don't hear a difference. Okay, the low end is a little bit overpowered, so I might just turn that off. Alright, I think we need more top end, so I'm going to just pump that a little bit, because the mix sounds a little bit too much low end heavy. So this is low end, this is high end. So it's sounding a little bit like that. Okay, so with the vocals popping out, I think I'm just gonna leave that for now. Normally speaking, I would go back, but I think I ruined my ears with this triode mode. Next up is another really powerful little trick, and that is to use the imager. Again, we're gonna click on learn, and where I want you to pay attention to is this thing called the vector scope, and literally this -1 to +1. We kind of want the mix or the master to be in this area, but each band has a specific little sweet spots. So let's look at the low end first. I kind of always want my low end to be in the middle, right? So this is already in the middle, so it's literally you can see it in the middle. But what we can do is make it a little bit more mono. And you can hear that the more mono I make it, the more the kick becomes more like buff, buff. If I put it over here, it's a bit weird. And now it's like, it's getting to my chest, you know? Next up is this band. And this band, I really don't suggest doing too much imaging. So let's just see where it is by itself. That's already quite good. That's already quite good, but we can push it a little bit. But only a tad. As you can see, it's not much. Let's go to the next band. Let's see what we have here. Okay, we can push that a little bit again. It has a lot of distortion, man. Jesus. Okay, that's nice. Let's go to the top end. Now, by the way, if this would be going to an MP3 or to OGV, which is SoundCloud, 64 bits, by the way. What happens with this band, this fourth band, if you make that too wide, because I see most people just kind of do this, and it's just like this thing that it goes up like that. If you do that, then the high end will become just cut out, because generally speaking, the side information on the top end just disappears when it is compressed to MP3 or OGV. Okay, we're leaving that because it's already wide enough. And instead I'm making that more mono, so that part really comes through. Now we click on the stereoize knob once we've set each band individually, and this is where it gets cool. This is where you don't look at the meter anymore, and you just use your ears. I stare at a wood cabin, you might stare somewhere else. You stare and you just kind of move this knob to the right. Okay, great. So now it's like, it's probably a little bit too wide, but at the same time, it's kind of sexy. And because we're making this image quite a lot wider, we can go back to this to the dynamics, and I'm just going to add a little bit of bass. I'm going to take away a little bit from this. There you go. Nice, 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 nice. When it's nice, like you get this feeling like, oop, that's good. Move on, forget about it. Okay, let's go. The next part that we are going to be looking at is, let's see, what else do we have? I think it's already quite nice, but sometimes it's nice to add a, to add a, where is it? Vintage EQ. Now what this vintage EQ does is it kind of just relaxes the track because it's really hyped. and I kind of wanted to chill out a little bit. Okay, so how this works, this is a Pultec EQ, and actually, to be really honest, this is kind of what I'm doing here, is also a bit of Pultec-y type of stuff. This is really quite a lot. There we go. So what we do here is basically you select the frequency that you can boost with. Normally I boost there first. You boost, this happens, and at the same time you can make a cut, and normally you cut around there. And you can also make a boost again at 200. And what will happen is you get this wavy waveform, basically cutting, boosting, cutting, boosting, cutting, boosting, boosting, or actually cutting, boosting, cutting, boosting, and then normally I would cut there and then boost again. So we can do that again. But let's just see how it feels, okay? And I have to kind of put my head here because that's where the sweet spot is. Okay, I'm noticing that the mix is a little bit muffled, you know, but I mean the master is a little bit muffled, but I think it's okay for just going through it in one go. Like specifically that is really annoying. Let's just find that. So let's just take number 3 here and move it a little bit over that way. Okay, great. Now, the last thing that we're going to do to finish this little session is to... No, we're not... Oh, yeah. Well, there's a couple different limiters. Actually, we should A-B as well. Shall we give it a quick A-B? Give it a quick A-B. Is there like a button I can press to A-B here? There isn't. Well, there's only this one. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we have a little bit more of a balance. It's not much of a difference. And for some weird reason, it's a bit warped. So preferably, I would go back into it and fix that. Do you mind if I just do that really quick? Oh, Nice. Okay, let's move on. So the last thing that we're going to do is normally, so bypass, always double check everything that you're doing, and reference as well. So if you're going to do this yourself, make sure you reference. Obviously, I can't reference right now, so I'm doing this blind, but reference with a similar track. Now, last thing that we're going to do is we're going to open up the limiter. So we can either open up a vintage limiter, and what a vintage limiter will do in this case is make the track less bright. So that's quite nice to use if you have a very bright track. Currently we have a bright track, but we're going to use the maximizer because that's what most of you will do anyway. LUFS setting is probably going to be the most interesting part here. So learn threshold at -14 LUFS. I would say, don't worry. You can go to around -9-ish. And experience shows that going to around -9, you're fine, because the LUFS setting that people are going on and on about, that it has to be -14, is actually for the overall track. It has to be for -14. And then YouTube, Spotify, who else do we have? Tidal, etc. They won't normalize the audio. Normalizing the audio meaning turning the volume down a little bit, and maybe even limiting. But we all don't exactly know what is going on. But from what I've heard is -9 works, and you don't have any problems. And you put the -9 for the busiest part of the track. Now, we're not having the busiest part of the track here, but let's just say we're going to learn the threshold. I'm going to be using the Intelligent Release Control LL because it gives a rich sound. And then let's just check what it does. Oh yeah, volume is going to go up, so turn down your volume. Very, very nice. Let's put the volume back up. And what you want to listen to when you're limiting, right now we're limiting almost nothing because we've obviously done such a good job with all those little parts. But what you want to do when you're limiting is you want to listen to, again, think of it, you're going to listen from low end all the way to the high end. And if you limit too much, your low end will actually start to disappear because it will just kind of go and you'll get distortion. So we're going to listen for that, see if that is actually happening. I think we're fine. Make sure to click True Peak, and I'm going to put the ceiling down to -0.1 dB, because when we bounce this track down, and you upload it, for instance, to SoundCloud, or to basically to any online platform, it will get converted. And normally speaking, if it's converted to, for instance, 128 kilobytes MP3, it will add about 1 dB. But I will just put it here because most people nowadays will listen to a song not at 128 kilobytes, but 320 kilobytes, and then it doesn't, for MP3, then it doesn't actually go above 0. And basically, what's the bad thing about that? If it starts clipping, then people could start complaining like, oh, I can hear a little bit of distortion. But just put it down to 0.1, it's fine. And probably won't be that much distortion anyway. And if there's too much distortion, go to your exciter and fix it there. So, maximizer, there you go. Last thing is dither. Just dither. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Just remember that. I'm not going to explain dither because it's an extremely long-winded topic over a little bit of noise. But put your bit depth to 24. Put your dither, I like to put it to low, and the noise shaping to max because it's a little bit of noise just underneath. And that's it. I'm not going to talk about this because there's nothing really to talk about. So if you want to then bounce the track, that's the last thing, because you obviously, this is the actual master part. You have file, go to export. My system runs at 48 kilohertz, so I'm leaving it 48 kilohertz. I'm going to get a waveform. You can also go black, by the way, which would be preferred, but we're going to go waveform. 24-bit depth is the same as here. No dither, because it's already dithering. And I'm also going to encode an MP3. You're going to click export, and then write down behind the thing, master, click save, and that's it, okay? After that, you're pretty much done. Last, but also make sure that you have an intro to your track, so it's not just bach, but it's what, yeah? And at the end, it's not tak, but it's ta. You can do that with a little bit of reverb or a volume automation at the end. But for now, that was it. I hope you enjoyed it. I know that must have been a lot of information. Every song will, by the way, have a completely different approach to mastering. This is just the thing that popped up in my head while having too much energy drink. So I hope you enjoyed this most likely very long session. Again, my name was Guido from Cat and Beats. And thank you, Production Music Live. And thank you, everybody, for staying with me. You guys rock. If you want to see a extremely long-winded mixing and mastering session, go down below. In the description, there is a session that I've done for Production Music Live. And make sure to download the cat checker and watch out, because for some weird reason, it adds gain. Peace out, guys. Enjoy your, well, whatever day it is for you. Bye.